Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello friends, how are you? We are from group 10 and we are going to deliver our presentation to you about children who are deaf or hard of hearing. Before we get into the explanation, let us introduce ourselves. There are Rani Septiani, Andini Khairunisa, Wanda Sarasmedina, and Dwi Nanda Rahmawati. Now, without further ado, let's get into it.
Definition of children with special needs who are deaf and hard of hearing. Deafness as severe hearing loss disorder because the children cannot absorb linguistic information quickly to his audience, and when the children is an application or hearing disease, hearing loss has a negative impact on the children hearing. Next is the level of hearing loss. 0 dB is optimal hearing. 0 to 26 BD is normal hearing. 27 to 14 BD defectual in hearing sound. 41 to 55 BD understand the language of people unable to think and absorb information talk with the mean. 56 to 70 BD is can only hear sound from a close disorder, has little hearing for exclusive hearing. 71 to 90 BD is can only hear sound they are very loud, very close. Sometimes deaf request exclusive education, require hearing aids or ABM, speaking exercise. Specifically, the children have hearing loss. 91 BD to above is only the dead will vibrate and sound. The second slide is revise information to the brain. Defectual in the eating input after the being revision by ear. Hearing loss make hearing sound more the defectual. Sensory natural hearing loss sound by image in ear, cockcorn or the auditory nerve.
History of education for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. The education law of individuals with disabilities explains that hearing problems are quite severe. Children cannot process information through hearing. Hearing loss is very bad impact on children's educational performance. Hearing loss in children, level, type, and age, and the different varies. Speech-language-oriented society has not accepted American language as a true language, and a lack of understanding can still cause barriers in the acceptance of individuals with differences, because they are a speech-dominated society. Some educators of persons who are deaf or hard of hearing strongly advocate the use of oral speech language. The acceptance of individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing has been greatly assisted by government mandates, regulation, and continued advocacy for the right of all people. Commissions established by Congress in 1986 and 1988 led to the establishment of the National Information Center on Deafness and the Helen Keller National Center for Technical Assistance. Rules and regulations in 1990 that required statewide telephone relaying system have ensured phone access for individuals with hearing impairment, and stipulation in 1992 that all television set with screens 13-inch or large sold in the United States must be equipped to receive captioned broadcasts have expanded media access. The way deaf children and hard of hearing communicate.
Being able to communicate is an interactive process that allows someone with a hearing loss to participate fully in their environment, bearing in mind that 90% of parents of children who are completely deaf or hard of hearing are unable to fully communicate with their children through ordinary conversation. Therefore, parents must master the appropriate way of communication for their children. We take the example in this case, a child with hearing loss who has limited speech skills and wants to play a swing in the playground. He could not immediately say, "I want my turn," or "Now it's my turn." What he might do is push the other child off the swing. Obviously, this kind of behavior will cause children have difficulties relating to other people, and if it is done repeatedly, it is certain that the child will experience serious difficulties in social adaptations problems, lack of language skills, making it hard for deaf children to make friends with normal children who are not used to communicating with sign language. Some argue that the opportunity to learn an effective communication system should not be postponed and to immediately begin learning to speak sign language. Sign language, which is agreed by most deaf community members, is sign language that can be learned easily from the beginning, thus minimizing difficulties for children if children have good models or examples. These are the example of sign language. On the left is the form of alphabets in sign language, while on the right is the example how they expresses their emotions through sign language. Assistive technology is a term for any equipment or product that helps students with special needs. United States federal law requires that assistive technology be considered for each student with an identified disability. Hearing aid technology has evolved rapidly, and today's aids are small, strong, and have special features to help distinguish noise from background noise. In addition to hearing aids, there are several devices that facilitate hearing. These include hearing aids, which increase the volume of sound received and reduce other sounds in the environment. Induction loop device, which is an audio loop system that surrounds the sitting area connected to the microphone and amplifies the sound and received by the hearing aid. Frequency modulation system, where the teacher wears a microphone that sends signals directly to the child's hearing aid. Infrared device, which transmits sound through invisible light waves, and vibrating aids, where sound is transmitted through a vibrating device used by the skin. The cochlear implant involves a surgical procedure where a battery pole is inserted into the cochlea. The microphone that is worn behind the ear receives sound from the surrounding environment and sends it through the hearing system. The cochlear implant cuts the damaged part of the ear and stimulates the auditory nerve. They do not restore hearing, but they provide a sound system that can assist users in understanding incoming auditory stimuli. Cochlear implants have a positive effect if it used long term and used consistently. A hearing impaired child who installs cochlear implants during their preschool years can develop language and reading skills at an almost normal level with children who are not deaf or hard hearing.
The effect of hearing loss on cognitive, academic, and children's language. Deaf children will find it difficult to pass this stage in the development of cognitive. How come they can learn if one of their senses does not function, especially if someone has a hearing loss? Cardano said that the senses are interdependent, so that if the senses of sight or hearing is lost, then the senses of sight will take over the senses of hearing, and of course the senses of sight cannot replace the superior function of the senses of hearing. Judith said that the impact of disability on the cognitive abilities of deaf children is as follows. 1. Verbal ability is lower than children who can hear or normal children. 2. But the IQ performance of a hearing impaired child is the same as a child who can hear. 3. Short-term memory impaired deaf children are lower than children who can hear, especially on information received quickly. 4. Long-term memory is almost no difference, although final performance usually remains low. The most important thing we need to know about children who are hearing impaired and hard of hearing that most deaf children have normal intelligence and some have intellectual talent. Hearing loss will not affect the overall cognitive abilities of children, but children who have hearing loss or difficult to hear will experience delays in cognitive development. In teaching reading to children who are hard of hearing or deaf using manual or visual methods, such as using sign language, because if we teach children who are deaf or hard of hearing by using sound or speech, it's very limited effective. Children who are deaf or hard of hearing can learn how to read and write using the appropriate form language. And initial support for language development for children who are deaf or hard of hearing by using hearing aids. With hearing aids, it will help children who are deaf or hard of hearing to learn to read.
The effect of family to children who are deaf or hard of hearing. It turned out that more than half of hearing and deaf problems are caused by genetic factor. Hearing loss caused by genetic factor is inherited by parents who improve hearing in both of them or one of them. Parents ask about language early because children can develop more quickly than other children whose parents do not understanding the child's initial condition. The family provides essential support from the child who is deaf or hard of hearing as member of the multidisciplinary team. The family helps shape the educational program for the child and reinforces the intervention in the home. Family-oriented approaches have led to the attainment of better communication skills by children who are deaf or hard of hearing. Moreover, when stress is reduced within a family, better interaction usually occurs among its members.
Thank you for keeping up until the end. If you have any questions, please leave it at the comment section below. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.